Well, we hire people, we bring them into work, and we're like, hey, April, do a good job. Of course I want to do a good job. And then we don't give you a target. We don't give you something to look at.
It gives our team personal accountability, even myself in particular. When I hit my KPI, it's one of my weekly highlights. So
you're like, I hit it. Mm-hmm. Yes, and you feel great about it. Hey, welcome to the Offsite Team Member Podcast, where we understand the challenges faced by the DME, durable medical equipment, rehab, and respiratory business leaders in their quest to find dependable and affordable employees who also know Brightree. I am here with my good friend April, and we are going to help you as we talk about a great revolutionary workforce solution that resolves this problem, enabling DME, respiratory, rehab, and even just business leaders to find and really thrive with the reliable and cost-effective team. So, hey, how are you today, April?
I am good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. And next, we're recording 2 podcasts today because next week you're going on vacation. You deserve it. You work your tail off and you're going on vacation. Tell us one fun thing about going on vacation in the Philippines. What's awesome about it?
Well, you can go anywhere in the Philippines because every place, there's beauty in it. They have their own beauty. Mm-hmm. So the place that we're going is more on rest and relaxation to recharge and then re-energize. So when I get back...
Yeah, and you know what? It's cheap. I mean, you might think it's expensive, but it is so affordable to travel in the Philippines. So if anyone ever comes and has one of our team members and you ever want to say, hey, I want to go meet our team members in the Philippines that you use with Offsite Team, hey, let us know. We'll get you set up, and it's really affordable. Like you're flying, what island are you flying down to?
Boracay Island.
Yeah, and it's like US dollars, it's like $40 one way to hop on an airplane, which is just a bus ticket in the United States is more expensive, and you guys get to fly to this island paradise, and it's really amazing. Another one of my good business friends who has a bookkeeper, he's taking his daughter, and they're going to go spend spring break in the Philippines as well too. So it's just a wonderful, hire one of our team members, but also go vacation to the Philippines too. Everyone speaks English. It's affordable. It is absolutely amazing. Correct. Well, today we're going to jump into the importance of looking at your company's KPIs year over year. So hopefully you listened to us last year on season 1. If not, go back and listen to it on the importance of having proper KPIs for your team. KPIs, if you're not familiar with the acronym, stands for Key Performance Indicators, and it's basically your box score. If you're a baseball fan, you'll look at, at-bats, hits, RBIs, home runs, strikeouts, you name it. And typically, the more hits and home runs you have, the better chance of your team scoring runs and winning the game. In business, it's the exact same way. We're in durable medical equipment. We know the more phone calls we receive, which turns into referrals, which then turns into orders, which then hopefully turns into dispensing oxygen wheelchair orders, which will then turn into money down the road. But we have that box score all set up. It's vitally important. Now, here's the key. You have to look at your KPIs every single year. You cannot just keep them the same. So tell me, we had a conversation earlier this week, and we were talking about a key team member on the rehab team, and you said, Erik, so-and-so has a question about her KPIs. Now, we have good KPIs. I actually think we have the right KPIs, but this team member had a question about her KPIs. Tell me about the situation. What are we running into? Without going into too much detail, but more just kind of, what happened?
The question is the KPI is a little vague, and it's not aligned to what our team member is doing. So
there's confusion. It's vague.
Yes, there is confusion. And then we are unable to measure the KPI that was set on her specifically, which is why there's this constant question, am I doing things? Like, we know she's really a great team member.
She is one of our top team members on our team.
She is.
and just, we know she's rocking it, but she does not know she's rocking it, which is a sign that something is off on this one particular team member's KPI. So everyone, whether you have team members in the Philippines or the United States, if you are doing a good job leading, and let's say you have a high performer, they should know they are a high performer. One of the worst things is, a number of years ago, I had one of our CSRs on our showroom and just said, Eric, I've just had the worst week in the world. I'm doing a horrible job. And he was about to quit. I pulled up his numbers in Brightree. He was our top salesperson that week. That was my fault for doing a lousy job, saying, here this person had amazing sales, but thought he was doing a horrible job. That's on me as a leader for not saying, hey, you had 4 at-bats, 2 home runs, a triple, and a walk, and you thought that was bad? No, that is an amazing, amazing day. And so when we look at KPIs, everyone needs to know exactly what they're shooting at. When I was shooting a bow and arrow, I just didn't shoot the arrow. I actually had this target that I was shooting after. And you shoot at the bullseye when you shoot at a target. And the funny thing is, well, of course you would do that if you're going to do target practice. Well, we hire people, we bring them into work, and we're like, hey, April, do a good job. You're like, well, of course I want to do a good job. And then we don't give you a target. We don't give you something to look at. And then we need to make the target, but then do you make the target big so anyone can hit it, or do you make it so small that you can't hit it? And in this case of this team member, I think our target's too small for her, and she's having a hard time hitting it because we know she's crazy talented, very, very talented, to the point where she's paid for herself probably 10 times over, literally. And that's always our goal. If you hire one of our team members, I'll just give you an example. If you hire a team member and it costs your business $100, our expectation is it's going to bring in an extra $1,000 for your business. It's the whole 10-to-1 ratio is what you pay in return. It should happen. So it's one of those things. We need to have accurate KPIs every single year. Now, April, why is that important?
It is important because that way we can know the progress of each team members, and at the same time it also aligns with our goals. So we need to have an accurate KPI, and we also need to revisit them to make sure that we have the correct KPI that we're tracking for each team members that we have.
Yeah, and so it's important because the why is you want your good performers to say, hey, I'm knocking it out of the park. Correct. There is the other side. I have other performers, their KPIs look really well. I'll just be honest, the feel factor, they're not performing up to what I think they could be up to. There's a special way that we have developed with our KPIs, and if you hire any of our team members, we'll give you our KPIs that we use. And the way you use it, it's basically you have a green, yellow, red system. And you've got, and there's a range, and we have figured out in the DME industry, we know exactly what this range should be. So if you don't know what it is, this is kind of interesting because there are industry standards, and I think some industry standards are way too lenient, and I think some industry standards are way too hard. So one of the things that I've noticed in the DME industry, if you ask someone who is a consultant who is not familiar with the day-to-day operations, it can really change things. And then even this year with reimbursement changing, if you have reimbursement go down 20% or up 20%, that's going to affect all the other KPIs. So it's important to look at the KPIs every single year because it's really going to depend on what happens with reimbursements. And we've even seen in our areas, because let's say reimbursements gets hammered, so someone goes out of business, our business shoots up. I'd love to say, hey, we're doing an amazing job. But when your competitor across the street, figuratively speaking, goes out of business, your sales should go up. And so this is why it's vitally important to look at your KPIs for all of your team members. So across all of our companies, we have a lot of team members. We need to look at all of the KPIs every single year. Now, there is a range. So for example, we know our fax wranglers and we know our communications team. That doesn't change too much because, fax wrangling, fax comes in from the doctor. We check insurance. Well, actually, we put them into Brightree, our operating system, whether it's Brightree or Tim's or Nico Health, you name it. You put it in there and then you verify their insurance. And then that's going to be really, really consistent year over year. Now, with other things, during COVID, we could do a lot more oxygen orders really, really quickly because when the basis is we think they might have COVID, they qualify, super easy to just throw out orders. That's not the case anymore. We need to change things because we're back to, hey, here is Medicare's LCD. This is what we can, this is what we can't do. And along the other sides, I was meeting with my rehab team this week and our rehab team leader, and I'm like, how do we increase these numbers? And if you saw my whiteboard over here, it's literally, we have the LCD on a whiteboard, and I'm like, can we speed the process up? And my rehab team lead is like, no, we can't. Because if you miss one of those things from Medicare's LCD is
Local coverage
determination. So that's literally the rules. If you break the rules, you don't get paid. So you can't break the rules. And so it's one of those things. I'd like to speed up the KPIs on some areas of our team. We legally can't do it, so we can't. So we have okay, can we keep providing Medicare wheelchairs assignment, or do we need to move non-assignment? These are really tough questions that we need to ask. Now, I can say, if you have an offsite team member, because the cost of doing business is so much more affordable, yes, we can do assignment with certain product categories. I can tell you, if we had a 100% US-based workforce where everyone's between $20 and $30 an hour, no chance we can do all of this assignment to Medicare. And even then, it's hard to figure out what can you do assignment or non-assignment. So why else is it really important to look at KPIs year over year or even quarter over quarter?
It gives our team accountability, personal accountability, and at the same time, it's fulfilling for them. Like when, even myself in particular, when I hit my KPI, my weekly KPI, it's one of my high, what's your weekly highlights, my KPI. So
you're like, I hit it. Yes, and you feel great about it.
Correct. And then also the company's health. It also ensures the company's health, making sure that we're winning, we're doing the right thing because we're hitting the KPI, we have the right number. And at the end, when we submitted the claims, we received the payment, it will look very good.
It does. Now, some of what we have the luxury of doing, because we work with a lot of DME businesses, and when certain things happen, I will ask other businesses and some of the businesses that are clients of ours, and I'll say, hey, we're noticing this trend. Are you noticing it as well, too? And how are you reacting to it? And typically, we have 80% of the answers that we're giving to our clients. But sometimes some of our clients, they have come up with really revolutionary ways, and they're nice enough to share it with us. I had a client call me last week and said, hey, Erik, I figured this thing out. What do you think? Because, they were coming to me saying, hey, I think I've kind of figured out a way of making this puzzle way more efficient. And you know what they had? I checked it against our data and how we were doing it. I'm like, great job. And it was one of those things, and this is where I love local small businesses just putting their heads together. But when things like that happen, you need to change the KPIs for who's working on it with the team. So that's an example of we're figuring out something marketing-wise. We can get more movement in a general area by moving this one particular way of how we contact doctors' offices as well as providers as well as clients. And by doing that, we're going to get more efficiency. And sometimes it's a minor movement, but if you even move something 5%, at the end of the year, that's thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for medium to large size businesses. It's great. And that's why we need to move KPIs. Now, you know this. I don't know if our listeners know this. My hobby, and it's a hobby because I pay to do this, I don't get paid to do it much, is I'm a track and cross country coach. So if you were to come to me and say, Erik, I want to run a marathon, or Erik, I'm going to run the mile or a sprint, I'm going to put you through a training regimen. And when you train someone, there's a way of the first couple of workouts, it really hurts, whether you're walking or running or lifting. But then as you do it, your body builds up. You feel worse for a couple of days, but then you feel better. A good coach is always going to slowly raise the standard. And it's the same way when we're leading others. And it's the same way with KPIs. If your KPIs are the same every single week, every single month, every single year, you're not improving. And I believe, and not only I believe, I've seen it, people will rise to the occasion, but they actually like being challenged. And it's always funny when we move someone's KPIs. So hey, you're knocking it out of the park every single month. We're gonna up this. I don't ever use the word quota. That has all sorts of PTSD for certain people, but raise the standards just slightly and then see what happens. And there's a way that we use that has been proven to work great, but there's a way of doing it. And typically people are not happy when it first happens. It just happens that way. They're not happy. But I can tell you long term, they're thrilled. So I've run, I think, 11 marathons in my life. After every marathon, I have really, really hurt. But then I get the medal and I feel great about it. Now you would think, okay, Erik, you just put yourself into 3 to 5 hours worth of pain, killed yourself, you got a dumb little medal that's worth $10 and that's good. Yes, because when we do hard things, it gives us that dopamine kick and it feels great. It's the same with KPIs. So here's what's crazy. Your team's going to get better results and your team members are going to be happier by doing more. Correct. That's awesome. So tell me, what have you noticed if you have to talk to someone about increasing their KPIs, making things harder? How do you go about doing that?
We check on the trend and see what's happening week after week after week. The previous week, I would say. And then after checking, if we feel that we're being complacent with the numbers and it's not challenging anymore, like it's easy to hit the numbers, we up the numbers a little bit, we challenge them, which what I always tell them, let me challenge you. Can you do this for this week and then we'll trend the numbers. At first, there is always this resistance. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can. It's probably hard. So there's always that question, how am I going to hit that number? And then it's more of like me challenging our team members. So we just have to make sure that we are also guiding them. And I would say proper communication, that we both have the same goals aligned. Because if we both have the same goals aligned, even if it's hard, we are going to give our best.
And when done properly, it is a win-win-win situation. And I do a lot of independent consulting as well as executive coaching. And almost always, actually, I don't think I've had a single client come to me yet. I will typically end sessions and I'll give homework. Typically, everyone always starts off doing their homework like they're supposed to. And then something will happen. Well, they'll have a really busy week and they're not able to do their homework. And it's like they come in with their head down. Sorry, I didn't do my homework this week or it didn't work. And they're all sad. I love it. And let me tell you why I love it when some people don't hit their numbers. And I'll tell you why I like it when people don't do their homework.
Why?
I like it if they tell me why. Because there is so much gold in the why. So even when you increase someone's KPIs and they don't hit them, once you have a healthy culture, then that is where the gold truly is. And what I see in certain companies is there is a aura of fear where no one feels safe to talk. So it might be a very easy thing if I'm going to talk to you and you're going to talk to our COO and they're going to talk to this team lead, and then you guys are going to come up with the answer. So in this KPI problem that we were talking about, there is something we did within our team. And, you were talking with one of our rehab team leads, and I walked in on the meeting because that's what you were doing. You guys were putting your heads together to figure out how can we adjust this KPI. And I know the numbers are going to get better because I heard you guys talking, and
yes,
we were trying to figure out a better way of working with providers. And the advantage of we're in Yakima, Washington, we know most of the providers. So my wife is the rehab team lead. So she was running with one of the providers this week, and they spent their entire 6-mile run talking about chart notes. I mean, and so she's like, okay, if we do this to your office, what's going to come back? And so this is where we're working with providers because they want to get that person their wheelchair. But then how do we figure that out? And then we adjust the KPIs to move forward. Other times, we do everything that we can, and it's really, we might have to put that team member on a performance improvement plan or PIP to encourage them, hey, it's not just you. We have 3 other people doing the same job and their numbers are this and yours aren't. So this is where it's nice. The KPIs are telling us it's this team member, it's not our process. So this is where it's really fascinating looking at KPIs, and it really is vitally important to change them. I wouldn't say week over week or even month over month. At the soonest, unless it's a brand new team member in a new position, quarterly at the most, preferably only once a year, if you know what you're doing.
Right.
What would you say if someone is going to change their KPIs? What do you think is the number one thing to look at if you have a team member that needs to change?
First, we have to check the KRAs. If there's any
KRA, key results areas.
Correct. So we want to make sure that to check if there's any changes on that one, because we wanted to make sure that the KPI is also aligned with the new KRAs. If there's no changes in the KRAs, then we have to get into the why do we need to change this.
Absolutely. And that's exactly right. This is exactly what it looks like. So, hey, April, what's our next episode on? Because it relates to this. I should have almost called this a 2-part series. What's our next episode?
Well, the next would be challenges implementing the KPIs.
There are
It's
challenges
exciting.
implementing. Yeah, it's exciting because it could blow up. Everyone's like, hey, why does this video have 4 million views? Oh, it blew up. There are challenges implementing KPI. If you have not implemented them, it's going to be hard. Let us walk you through it. We will encourage you and let you know what to expect. We have done it so many times. We will help you with this. But even re-implementing, so like this team member that we were talking about, she's already been a rock star. We probably raised her numbers a little too high, so now she's like, yeah, hey, am I doing a good job? Yes, you're still doing a good job. So we're going to talk about next episode, the challenges of implementing your KPIs and what we can do. But in the meantime, hey, go to OffsiteTeamMember.com and reach out to us. We would love to help you, whether you need 1 team member, a half team member, 5 team members. We have fully trained team members ready to jump in on your team. Just lately, we've outsourced, I hate that word, but we've outsourced 2 of our team members to other companies doing Instagram reels and feeds and TikToks and you name it. And they love it. They just record videos and then bam, they have it. So we've done that. I also want to say, if you are in the DME field and you're going to MedTrade in a few weeks in Dallas, I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee and we can just talk about business. Even if you don't have any team members with us, you're using someone else, let's talk about it. I love talking to other DME, rehab, respiratory companies. Let me buy you a coffee or a beer or you name it. I would love to reach out to you. So I'll be in Dallas for 2 days towards the end of March. If you happen to listen to this after March, hey, reach out to us. We can do a quick Zoom and we can just talk about, hey, what's working for your business? Where are you stuck? And how can we help you out? No cost involved in that. But until then, we will see you next week as we help, hey, how do you implement this? And we'll work with you. So until then, take care.